Is the size difference narrative when it comes to Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford? Can we put it to rest? Can we put that Canelo Alvarez is some gigantic, ginormous, giant fighter, just some massive guy? Could we put this to rest? Right? Could we put this to rest? Now that we see these guys side by side, we've seen them face by face. We're going to see more as the weeks go. But can we put it to rest? Because for weeks, for months, Crawford was just simply too small. You would have thought that he was a wet noodle. You would have thought that he was if you didn't know any better, you would have thought he was like an ant in comparison to Canelo Alvarez. You would have thought that Canelo Alvarez was some towering, massive, gigantic fighter, and Terence Crawford was some frail, skinny, small, minuscule, weak, puny man, right? That's just what, if you didn't know any better, that's what you would think. But now that we see these guys, and it is funny because we've seen them face to face after Canelo's last fight, and Canelo seemed to be surprised at how big Crawford was. Crawford, of course, he's a taller guy, but when we looking at weight, Crawford, if they're not the same size as far as weight, Crawford may be slightly bigger. Now, I asked one of my co-workers, right, who don't know nothing about boxing, right? He don't know nothing about boxing. I mean, he know of boxing, but he don't know what we know about boxing. Us hardcore fans, the storylines, the narratives, all this stuff, right? And I showed him this picture, right? This picture that I used for the thumbnail. I showed him, like, who's the bigger guy to you, right? Just who looks bigger? And he was kind of undecided, but he leaned towards Crawford. But he said they both kind of look like they're the same size. And it's just to somebody who never really don't know nothing really about these guys like that. And he said, well, the black guy looks a little bigger, but they kind of look the same size. And that's just what somebody who don't know boxing, who's looking at things unbiasedly, right? But if you look at the comment section on some of my videos, you would still think that Crawford was the much, much smaller guy. But looking at these guys, you can look at the legs, and you can see that Crawford is not necessarily a small guy. Not small like that, right? So is the size difference, will it really be a thing? Because I think this fight is going to ultimately come down to skills. Who's the more skilled guy? Who's the better prepared guy? Who has the most left in the tank? I would lean more towards Terence Bud Crawford. He took the time off, right? He took some time off, grew into this new frame that he has, right? He grew into his frame, which was a long, wiry frame. He grew into it. And I don't think the size difference is going to play a factor in this fight. I don't think Canelo Alvarez is going to be bullying and manhandling Crawford around the ring. Now, will Crawford be able to take one of Canelo's big bombs if one of those big bombs was to land? I guess we got to wait and see. But will Canelo Alvarez be prepared for what's to come? Will he be prepared to deal with the master boxer in Terence Bud Crawford? Will Eddie Reynoso and Canelo come up with a game plan to thwart the reign and the consistent dominance of Terence Bud Crawford? Will he be able to derail that momentum? It's going to be a tough task. It's going to be a tough task indeed. I would say that right now, this matchup, this actual matchup, take away the size, okay? Let's take away the politics. Let's take away the size difference. This is a harder fight for Canelo than it is for Terence Crawford. If we take away the size difference and we take away politics, this is a really, really tough matchup for Canelo Alvarez. Because this is a guy who's a great counterpuncher. He throws punches, and he has a really high fight IQ. Turk Al-Sheikh came out more recently, and I'm sure I showed the clip, but this Tom and Jerry thing, right? There's not going to be any running, and that's not one of those things that Terence Crawford does in the ring. Terence Crawford don't be running around the ring. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this fight plays out. I just, look, man, this fight is getting closer and closer by the week. This fight is getting closer and closer as the weeks go. It's getting closer and closer as the weeks go. And once we see Canelo Alvarez get in camp and get preparation going, get things going, then we're going to really see how this thing could possibly play out. We ultimately won't know until they step into that ring September 13th. But as of right now, I don't see no size difference. I don't see a significant size difference to where Canelo Alvarez is this much, much bigger guy than Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford is probably around close to high 180s, low 190, right? He's probably 190 right now, around 191, high 180s, around there, right? That's probably what he's weighing at. And that's probably what Canelo, probably what he weighs around there as well. So these two guys are pretty much going to be the same size by the time they step in that ring, right? I'm not sure who's going to be truly the bigger guy, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference to the point where it's that much of an uphill battle for Terence Bud Crawford. But this thing is going to get interesting. This thing has gotten very interesting. We wait on this new interview that's coming out. It should be coming out later this week, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But we still wait on this interview to see what both fighters think and see how just the energy, the energy of the fighters and how things could possibly play out based off the conversation. Right? Both guys are going to say they're going to win the fight. So we can't expect anything different from there, right? But the size difference, man. This was the main talking point for months in regards to this fight. And I've been telling y'all, man, that size difference thing ain't gonna be a thing. And as we starting to see, it ain't gonna be a thing. But we truly won't know until they step in the ring. But yeah, you got guys saying that Crawford looks slow, looks sluggish, right? They said he looks slow. Bulky and slow. You know, this is what these guys, these Bud haters are saying, right? This is these guys who just don't like Crawford. This is what they're saying. I'm like, where do you see slow? I see a guy who's bigger than he used to be, but I don't see slow. I don't see slow. He still looks sharp. His punch is still snapping. I'm trying to figure out what was slow. And like I told you, the weight gain for Crawford isn't going to hinder his speed. He may not be as fast as he was, of course, at 135, 140, of course, but he's still going to have a significant speed advantage over Canelo Alvarez. Why? Because he has a frame for it. He's not a short, stubby guy. Long, wiry frame. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see this thing. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. Canelo Alvarez, my question to the Canelo fans, how is Canelo going to beat this guy? Is the weight still going to be a factor? Is the weight still going to be something that's going to be something for Terence Bud Crawford to overcome in this matchup? Or will Terence Bud Crawford systematically break down and dismantle the mighty Canelo Alvarez? Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.